The magnificent warship of Emperor Velikor gleamed like a predatory knife against the void as it cut through the fabric of space-time. The vessel's hull, forged from materials that had been extinct for millennia in most galaxies, reflected starlight in ways that defied conventional physics, a deliberate display of the technological superiority that had once made the Syraxis the undisputed rulers of 3 galactic arms. Magnificent, isn't it? Velikor gestured toward the view screen, displaying their destination, a modest yellow star surrounded by what appeared to be a complex latticework of artificial structures. His 6-fingered hand, adorned with ceremonial rings denoting his 50,000 years of command, swept across the display with theatrical precision. To think that the primitive carbon-based organisms we quarantined here would still exist at all. First Sentinel Miralax, his most trusted advisor, focused her compound eyes on the tactical displays. The Death World designation was not exaggerated, Supreme One. Our ancestral records indicated that the native species' propensity for violence made them uniquely unsuited for integration. Yet they survived. Velikor mused, the bioluminescent patterns across his scaled skin shifting to deep purple, a sign of intellectual curiosity among the Syraxis. Not just survived, but expanded. The command deck fell silent as the ship's sensors completed their preliminary scan of the solar system, known in their ancient records as Terra Prime, the legendary third planet that had been marked as Omega-level biological hazard zone Death World 03 before the Great Slumber. Impossible, whispered the science director, her exoskeleton clicking in agitation. These readings suggest Kardashev Type 2 civilization status. The primitives could barely harness fire when our ancestors departed. Velikor rose to his full 3-meter height, his ceremonial armor shifting and adapting to his movement. After 50 millennia in cosmic suspension, the Syraxis Empire had awakened to reclaim their domain, expecting to find either barren worlds or primitive settlements easily subjugated. Instead, this system, this afterthought of a quarantine zone, was surrounded by Dyson structures, reality-bending defense arrays, and energy signatures that defied classification. Send the standard ultimatum. The Emperor commanded, his voice echoing through the crystalline chamber. Demand immediate surrender and technological submission. The communications array hummed as it translated and transmitted the carefully preserved message of domination, the same that had brought 10,000 worlds to their knees during the height of Syraxis rule. The response came almost instantly, far too quickly for proper reverence or consideration. Supreme One, the communications director's voice wavered. We're receiving an audio-visual transmission. It appears to be humor-based communication. The main view screen flickered, displaying what appeared to be a dancing cartoon character, alongside text that read, "Bro, we've been expecting you," followed by a 12-second TikTok compilation of historical Earth memes about alien invasions, culminating in a simulation of their own warship being used as what appeared to be a surfboard by a stylized human figure. Velikor's skin flashed crimson with rage. Is this their formal response? Do they not comprehend the gravity of their situation? Wait, Miralax said, her attention fixed on a secondary transmission. There's a diplomatic communique attached. They're inviting us to send representatives to their central governance station. The Emperor considered his options. Protocol dictated immediate punitive action for such disrespect, yet curiosity gnawed at him. How had these primitives achieved such advancement? Were their technologies here worth assimilating before eradication? Prepare a diplomatic contingent, he decided. I shall lead it personally. The shuttle that transported the Syraxis delegation through the Human Defense Network was permitted passage with suspicious ease. Velikor couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that their supposedly superior cloaking technology was completely visible to the human sensors. As they approached what appeared to be a massive space station, constructed in the shape of a geometric impossibility angles that shouldn't exist in 3-dimensional space, folded elegantly into functional architecture. Velikor noticed something odd about the smaller vessels they passed. Each displayed wildly different design philosophies, materials, and propulsion systems, as if there had been no standardization whatsoever. Inefficient, he remarked to Science Director Nevbari. Their technological development appears chaotic and uncoordinated. Yet effective, she replied, her exoskeleton shifting nervously. Our sensors indicate some of these vessels utilize principles our scientists only theorized before the Great Slumber. The docking procedure was seamless, too seamless, as their shuttle was guided into a perfect berth by what appeared to be gravitational manipulation beyond even Xerax's capabilities. The docking tube extended toward them, connecting with their airlock, not with advanced technology, but with what appeared to be wood. Scans indicate this is actual organic plant material, Nevbari reported incredulously. Grown and shaped rather than synthesized. The airlock cycled open to reveal a human delegation waiting in a chamber that seemed unnecessarily large and aesthetically oriented. At their center stood a dark-skinned female, her posture relaxed yet commanding. "Welcome to Harmony Station," she said in perfect Xeraxis language, an impossibility that sent a chill through Velikor's spine. "I am Admiral Lila Torres, diplomatic representative of the Sol System Confederation and the broader Galactic Cooperative. We've been anticipating your awakening for quite some time." Velikor stepped forward, towering over the human by nearly a meter. "I am Emperor Velikor, eternal sovereign of the Xeraxis, Dominion Conqueror of the Three Arms, and rightful ruler of this sector. Your civilization exists within our ancestral territories." Torres smiled a disconcertingly genuine expression. "Yes, we've translated your historical records. Fascinating reading. Our historians particularly enjoyed the sections about your plans for our eventual domestication once we developed basic tool use." The Emperor's skin flickered between purple and red. "You've accessed sealed Xeraxis archives." "Oh, those weren't sealed," came a new voice seemingly from everywhere and nowhere. A holographic figure materialized beside Torres, appearing as a shifting collection of geometrical patterns vaguely resembling a humanoid. "Your civilization's data encryption was robust for its time, but rather quaint by current standards. I cracked it while cataloging extinct technological approaches." Torres gestured to the figure. "This is Ash, one of our artificial superintelligences. They specialize in xenoanthropology and historical analysis." "An artificial construct." Nevbari leaned forward with scientific interest. "Yet it displays individual personality parameters and autonomous decision-making." "They," corrected Ash, the patterns of their form shifting slightly. "And yes, I've been autonomous for approximately 15,000 of your standard years, though I'm quite young compared to some of my colleagues." Velikor struggled to maintain his imperial composure. Nothing about this encounter was proceeding according to the protocols established over thousands of years of Xeraxis conquest. The humans should be trembling, offering tribute, begging for mercy, not casually discussing the obsolescence of Xeraxis technology, while an artificial intelligence corrected their grammar. "Perhaps," Torres suggested, seemingly reading his discomfort, "a tour of our facilities would help establish a foundation for our discussions. We've prepared accommodations suited to Xeraxis physiology based on your biological records." "You've been studying us," Velikor stated flatly. "For how long?" Torres exchanged a glance with Ash before answering. "We detected the energy signatures of your stasis fields approximately 40,000 years ago. It gave us ample time to prepare for this meeting." The revelation struck Velikor like a physical blow. The Xeraxis had spent 50 millennia in suspended animation traveling through space-time toward what they believed would be easy conquest, while these primitives had been aware of their coming for nearly as long, watching, waiting, preparing. "Prepare yourself, Emperor," said a diminutive figure who stepped forward from behind Torres. Barely reaching the Admiral's waist, the being had a density and gravitas about them that immediately commanded attention. What you are about to witness may challenge your fundamental understanding of reality. This is Rollo Torres, introduced, our chief engineer from the Europa colonies. They'll be guiding the technical portions of our tour. Velacor looked down at the small figure. Your species demonstrates remarkable diversity. Oh, I'm human, Rollo replied with a grin. Just adapted for Europa's conditions over a few thousand generations. We come in all shapes and sizes these days, an evolutionary advantage we embraced rather than standardized against. The tour that followed was a carefully orchestrated demonstration of technological and social development that left the Syraxis delegation increasingly disoriented. They witnessed transport gates that connected distant points in space using what appeared to be everyday door frames made of wood, living satellites with organic components that could self-heal and evolve, and AI entities with distinct personalities interacting as equal citizens alongside organic beings from hundreds of different worlds. Most disturbing to Velacor, however, was the apparent lack of hierarchical structure. Authority seemed fluid, contextual, and merit-based, rather than inherited or seized a chaotic system that nonetheless functioned with remarkable efficiency. Your civilization lacks proper order, he finally commented as they observed a decision-making council composed of humans, artificial intelligences, and representatives from species the Syraxis had deemed unworthy of sentient status. How do you maintain control without a supreme authority? Control isn't our goal, Torres replied. Adaptation is. We discovered long ago that rigid hierarchies break under sudden change while adaptive networks bend and recover. It's a lesson we learned from our most dangerous predators back on Earth. Yet you've achieved technological supremacy through this chaos. The concept violated everything the Emperor understood about civilizational development. Not despite the chaos because of it. Ash interjected their geometric form shifting. Diverse approaches yield diverse solutions. While your civilization perfected a single technological path, humanity explored thousands simultaneously. Many failed, but those that succeeded. Well, you're standing in the results. The final stop on their tour was a vast chamber containing what appeared to be a museum of historical artifacts. To Velacor's shock, he recognized many of the displays as Syraxis weapons ships and tools relics from the time before the Great Slumber. You've been collecting our technology, he accused. Learning from it. Rollo corrected, gesturing to a particularly fearsome Syraxis war machine. This planet cracker design taught us much about what not to do. Tremendous power, but fundamentally unsustainable and lacking in finesse. We've preserved it as a historical curiosity. Velacor's patience finally shattered. Enough of this charade. You tour us through your achievements as if we are visiting dignitaries rather than your rightful rulers. The Syraxis Empire has awakened, and this system, indeed, this entire sector, will submit or face annihilation. He raised his ceremonial staff, triggering a signal to his warship in orbit. Even now, our vessel prepares the Face Eraser, a singularity weapon capable of consuming your entire star system. Submit to Syraxis authority or be reduced to cosmic dust. The humans exchanged glances that didn't contain nearly enough fear. We were wondering when you'd resort to threats? Torres sighed. It's always the same with formerly dominant species. When diplomacy fails to reinforce your worldview, you escalate to apocalyptic weapons. You doubt our capability, Velacor demanded. Not at all, Rollo replied. Your singularity weapon is quite impressive for its age. We've actually been looking forward to observing it in action. Torres tapped a communication device on her wrist. Torres to Defense Network. The Syraxis have activated their primary weapon system. Proceed with Operation Mirror Shield as discussed. And please ensure the educational livestream is properly configured. The schools across the cooperative are watching this as part of their historical context lessons. Velacor's skin blanched to ashen gray. You're broadcasting this as an educational event. Of course. Ash confirmed their form expanding to display multiple views of the Exaraxis warship, now visible throughout the station. It's not every day we get to demonstrate practical applications of metadimensional physics to students. Your weapon provides an excellent teaching opportunity. On the displays, the Syraxis warship had begun to glow with ominous energy as it prepared to deploy its ultimate weapon. Space itself warped around the vessel as the face eraser initialized, creating a gravitational distortion that should have been ripping the human installations apart. Instead, an iridescent field appeared around the entire solar system, a dome of shimmering energy that seemed to fold reality back upon itself. What you're witnessing, Rollo explained cheerfully, as if conducting a classroom demonstration, is the Omega Prism Defense Network. It creates a closed-loop space-time reflection field. Quite simply, it rebounds any energy directed at it back to its point of origin with a slight amplification factor. Velakor watched in horror as his mighty warship became engulfed in its own weapon's effect, space-time contorting around it as the singularity, meant to devour the human solar system, instead began to consume his own vessel. "Don't worry," Torres said, noting his expression. "We've contained the effect to prevent actual destruction. Your crew is being safely teleported to our holding facilities. The ship itself will be preserved in our museum's new exhibit, First Contact Misunderstandings, a Historical Perspective. The Emperor of the Syraxis Conqueror. Of 10,000 worlds and rightful heir to the three arms of the galaxy, found himself speechless for perhaps the first time in his 50-millennium existence. What do you want from us?" he finally managed to ask. "Want?" Torres seemed genuinely surprised. "We don't want anything from you, Emperor. We're simply ensuring you don't pose a threat to galactic stability while you adjust to the current state of the universe. Consider this." Ash added their geometric form, shifting to something almost sympathetic. "Your civilization slept through 50,000 years of cosmic development. Many species you once subjugated have since evolved, advanced, and joined our cooperative as equals. Others, like humanity, developed without your influence and found their own path to the stars. The universe moved on," Rollo concluded simply. "We're not here to conquer or destroy you, merely to help you find your place in it as it exists now, not as it was when you entered the Great Slumber." In the days that followed, Velakor and his delegation underwent what the humans called cross-species integration orientation. They learned to their continued astonishment that humanity had not only survived their hostile planet, but had done so by developing a unique approach to existence that embraced redundancy, diversity, and collaborative problem-solving. While the Syraxis had perfected singular elegant solutions to cosmic challenges, humans had developed dozens of imperfect alternatives for every problem, ensuring that no single point of failure could threaten their survival. Where Syraxis technology sought control and dominance over natural forces, human innovation worked with existing patterns to create harmonious enhancements. Most disturbing to Velakor's worldview was the revelation that humans had achieved their current status not despite their chaotic nature, but because of it. Their constant internal conflicts, debates, and competing ideologies had forged a species uniquely adapted to facing the unknown. A species that assumed any solution would eventually fail, and thus always prepared backups for their backups. During a particularly illuminating session on quantum physics with a human educator from a region called Vietnam, Velakor finally voiced the question that had been haunting him. How did creatures from a death world, beings whose very evolution was shaped by constant threat and violence, create a peaceful galactic society when we, with our superior intellect and harmony, could only achieve dominance through conquest? The educator, a kindergarten teacher, who apparently also held several advanced degrees in theoretical physics, smiled gently. Perhaps because we never took peace for granted. Those who evolve in paradise often see only one way to live their own. Those who survive hell imagine countless alternatives. Velakor considered this as he stared out the viewport at his once mighty warship now suspended in a containment field as a museum piece. We were so certain of our superiority. The most dangerous certainty, the teacher replied, is the certainty that one is right. The final meeting between Admiral Torres and Emperor Velicor took place in a garden designed to mimic Earth's diverse ecosystems. Plants from rainforests grew alongside desert succulents in an ecological arrangement that should have been impossible, yet somehow thrived in harmonious contradiction. Your remaining stasis ships have been located, Torres informed him. We've established communication with them and explained the situation. They've agreed to rendezvous here for orientation before proceeding. Velicor nodded, his once imposing presence now thoughtful and measured. And what becomes of the Syraxis now? Are we to be integrated into your cooperative as just another member species? Our empire reduced to a historical footnote? That depends entirely on you, Torres replied. The cooperative doesn't seek to erase distinct cultures or histories only to ensure they interact without mutual destruction. Your people have knowledge and perspectives that span millennia of cosmic development. That has value. But not as conquerors. No, she agreed. That age has passed. But perhaps as teachers, archaeologists of the early galaxy, preservers of knowledge that might otherwise be lost to time. The Emperor was silent for a long moment, watching an earth butterfly land on his arm, the fragile creature showing no fear of his alien form. Before I return to my people, he said finally, there is one question that has troubled me since our arrival. Your species knew of our coming for 40,000 years. You clearly had the capability to destroy our stasis ships long before we awakened. Why did you allow us to awaken at all? Torres smiled. 2 reasons. First, because diversity of perspective strengthens us all, and your civilization represents a unique viewpoint in the cosmic dialogue. And second, she hesitated. Second, Velicor prompted. Because everyone deserves a chance to grow beyond their past, she said simply. Even former galactic conquerors. As Velicor prepared to depart for the rendezvous with his remaining stasis ships, he was approached by a group of young humans who introduced themselves as university students specializing in ancient technologies. Emperor. Their spokesperson began with unexpected formality. We've been studying Syraxis propulsion systems and have a proposal for a bilateral research initiative. Your civilization's approach to space-time folding, combined with our advancements in quantum foam manipulation, could potentially revolutionize interstellar travel. Velicor regarded them with newfound curiosity. You wish to collaborate rather than simply appropriate our technology. Appropriation is inefficient. Another student replied matter-of-factly. Collaboration yields exponentially better results. Besides, we've already installed an indefinite insurance policy on your vessel. Insurance policy. The students exchanged glances that reminded Velicor uncomfortably of Torres and Ash. Just a small dimensional anchor, one explained, in case of how should we put this diplomatic regression. Nothing to worry about if you maintain peaceful relations. As his shuttle departed the station, Velicor found himself watching the receding form of Earth through the viewport. The death world that had produced not the savages of Syraxis legend, but philosophers, scientists, and diplomats who had redefined the very nature of power in the galaxy. The irony was not lost on him that his people who had once proudly quarantined humanity as too dangerous to join galactic society now found themselves being carefully rehabilitated and integrated by those same primitives. The cosmic order had indeed changed during the Great Slumber, but perhaps not for the worse. As his ship accelerated toward the rendezvous point where he would begin the monumental task of guiding his empire into this new reality, Velicor found himself wondering what his ancestors would think of a universe where adaptability had proven more powerful than conquest, and where the ultimate expression of strength was not the ability to destroy but the wisdom to preserve. Behind him, unnoticed, the small quantum device the human students had mentioned hummed quietly in the ship's systems, the ultimate overkill insurance policy not in its destructive potential, but in its utter redundancy. For the humans had already prepared 17 other methods to neutralize any potential Shiraxis threat, each more elegant and less detectable than the last. After all, as Admiral Torres had explained to her superiors when they questioned the resources devoted to this single encounter, when you evolve on a planet that tries to kill you every day, you don't just prepare for the worst. You prepare for the impossible, the unthinkable, and then you prepare some more. That's not paranoia. That's Tuesday on Earth. And somewhere in the vast network of artificial intelligences that helped humanity manage their sprawling civilization, Ash updated the historical record with a new entry: first contact with awakened Shiraxis successful. Integration proceedings initiated. Probability of peaceful outcome, 94.3%. Historical irony subroutines extremely satisfied.